Joining us tonight to give us more insight into this great club and the historic feat is Frida Fagerlund, all the way from Málaga in Spain. Good evening to you, Frida. It's a pleasure to have you in the game today.
Good evening. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, definitely. It's good to have you with us. First of all, I think it's quite historic regarding, the story of Mjaellby. But then again, how significant is Mjaellby's league triumph within the context of Swedish football history? And how does it compare to other underdog success stories like Leicester City's in England?
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely massive. And I do think that there are some resemblance to what Leicester did in 2016. But I think what you have to remember is that Mjaellby's budget is really, really small. So the fact that they managed to do this is absolutely crazy. I mean, it's crazy to just think about it. And in terms of like what the Swedish league is, it's quite unpredictable. Like we've had many winners, different winners over the years. But the fact that Mjaellby actually have won this is just absolutely incredible.
All right, given Mjaellby's modest budget and small town background, what specific factors, management decisions, tactical approach, or club culture do you think made this incredible success possible?
I think it's a combination between what they've been doing on the pitch, but obviously also off the pitch. Like over the past few years, they managed to sell a few players, which meant that they could spend those money on the squad, and they managed to keep players that in the past they had to let go of. So I think it's partly that, what the board has done, and a few people who's been in the club for nearly 50 years and are really dedicated to the club overall, but also on the pitch, being very, very clear about what they want to do. Like all the players, they know exactly what they want to do or what they have to do when they step on the pitch. So I think it's a mix between these two things. And like I said, overall, they've been absolutely incredible, both on and off the pitch. They've had all the parts to come together and really manage to do something like this.
Amazing. Frida, just before the gentlemen in the studio get into this conversation with me, we'll be taking a very short break and we'll be right back with you. Thank you for staying tuned with us. This is still Game On News Central Television. Be sure to join in the conversation via our social media platforms at News Central TV everywhere. And we've been having Frida speak to us about the historic feat by Mjaellby. And gentlemen in the studio, I've also got questions for you, Frida. Wally?
Hi, Frida. Good evening, and it's good to talk to you. I wanted to ask you about, at what point did you start noticing Mjaellby? This team has come from nowhere. Malmö were tipped to defend their title. I think they've won it twice in the bounds. We're expecting them to win the third one. If not Malmö, maybe AIK, maybe IFK Göteborg. But at what point this season that just wrapped up, on Monday yesterday, did people in Sweden started taking note of Mjaellby?
I think it was pretty early, to be fair. I mean, I would say, come April, May, or around that time, because they just did so well. And in terms of like the away games, they've taken 32 out of a possible 36 points away. And I mean, that's just absolutely remarkable. So it's not a fluke or anything like that, but the fact that they won, although the underlying numbers do show that they have overperformed slightly, but at the same time, if you keep winning that many games away and at home, of course, it's hard to argue that they're not deserving of this win.
Tony?
Yeah, I'm more interested in the ability of this club to sustain what they've been able to do. We've seen examples all across Europe, even outside of Europe, of surprise elements like this, who, just come in and win the title, and then it becomes very difficult to sustain that success. We just talked about Leicester at the beginning of the show. They won the English Premier League, but as we speak right now, they've been in and out of the Premier League on 2 or 3 occasions. So what's the structure like to ensure that they are able to replicate this success or do you think this is just going to be a flash in the pan and the old order will return?
So it's important to know that in Sweden we have something that is called the 51% rule, which means that a club has to be owned by the fans by 51%. And then someone else, like a company or a person even, could buy the rest of the club. But that also means that in terms of like the financial aspect, the clubs in Allsvenskan will probably never be able to compete with clubs in Europe in the same way, because they don't have the money for it. But at the same time, what it creates, it's a league that is very unpredictable, where I wouldn't say every team can win. I mean, obviously Mjaellby, they've done this and it's absolutely amazing, but at least it is usually very unpredictable to know who's going to win Allsvenskan. And I'm saying this despite having Malmö AIF, which is like the bigger club in Allsvenskan and by far the richer club as well. But if we just, despite having Malmö AIF, I would still say that Allsvenskan is highly unpredictable, and it is thanks to the fact that no one can really become that more massive compared to the other clubs. So it's not like Premier League, where the differences can be huge between the clubs in the highest division and the clubs in the second highest division.
All right, Frida, you mentioned the fact that the club, around 51% of the club is owned by the fans. So how important is the community? Because it seems like the story of the club seems rooted in community spirit and local ownership. How important has the town of Hällevik and its people been in sustaining the club through its highs and lows?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. Of course, Mjaellby is remarkably small compared to a lot of the other clubs. I mean, if you think about like what the Swedish league is famous for, it's definitely the atmosphere. Like if you take a Stockholm derby, for example, that's well known, and people travel all over the place just to experience that type of derby, because it's just so incredible with the atmosphere and all the fans and everything. But when it comes to Mjällby, that's obviously a really, really tiny club. So they don't have that many fans. But obviously the fans that have been dedicated to Mjällby, I mean, to even be able to experience this type of success is just incredible. And again, I'm just so pleased for Mjällby. And I do think that a lot of Swedes do have Mjällby as the second team right now, because it's just so incredible what they've done. And we just love these fairy tale endings in football, don't we?
All right, then, Frida, just before we let you go, do you believe that Mjällby's success could inspire structural changes in Swedish football, perhaps encouraging more investment in grassroots clubs and community-driven models rather than big-budget teams?
I would say what I think that will inspire everyone to do is to have a clear strategy. Like to be very clear about what you want to do, because even though you don't have the financial power, you're still able to get everything else right. And they do actually have a mantra that's basically like, we're going to be the best in everything that's free. And I think that's a really good quote. Like it's a really good thing to live by, to just be able to be the best in everything that doesn't cost money. So yeah, I do hope that this is going to inspire more clubs to really make sure that they have a very clear strategy that could potentially challenge the bigger clubs.
Frida, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Thank you so much for the insight as well into Mjaellby's success, and hopefully we would have you on subsequent editions of the show to maybe also shed light on probably another historic club coming out of Sweden. Maybe we might just have a club in Sweden that would possibly make a mark in the UEFA Champions League or the Europa League in recent time to come.
I think they have a new coach now, the Swedish national team.
Yes, exactly. Graham Potter as well. Exactly. So maybe he'll be able to do some magic with the Swedish national team. Yeah. Maybe take them to the World Cup and possibly do something great with them. But then again, thank you very much for joining us tonight. Do take care of yourself.
Thanks for having me on. Thank you so much.